Hi guys, for those of you that don't know me, my name is A. Patrice Larry. I'm coming to you guys just sharing with you how I originally started studying the Word of God. I originally started studying the Word of God because I was drowning in life. I was really sad, I wasn't happy, and I was about to make a major decision in my life. I was about to get married in the next 3 months, and in my gut feeling, I just felt like it wasn't the right decision at the time, and I couldn't shake the feeling. So I would find myself on a daily basis crying every single night. I would cry myself to sleep every single night. I just was really, really sad. So one night I went into the bathroom, and that's my quiet place with God, still to this day. So I went into the bathroom and I cried, and I kept crying out to God. I just cried out to God. And as I cried out to God, I just cried out. It was simple. I was like, Lord, if you are really real, I said, if you are really, really real, I was like, please let me know if I should marry this man. I was like, I'm coming to you, and I just want to know, should I marry this man? So that was a Saturday night. So the next morning I got up and I went to New Home, uptown on Carondelet, and Bishop Blake's, he preached a powerful sermon, but God was speaking straight through him. Straight through him, and he was speaking directly to me. And Bishop Blake said, I don't care if your wedding dress is paid for. He said, I don't care if your bridesmaids have all their dresses. If it's in your gut feeling that you should marry this man, then don't do it. And I could not stop crying because I was the only one at the house that night. I was the only one in the bathroom that night, and I was the only one praying to God. So that's exactly what I prayed. I was saying, it's in my gut, Father God. I just felt it in my gut that I shouldn't do this, So the next day, that Monday morning, I had to make a major sacrifice. I knew God had answered me. So you guys, we can't ask God questions and get an answer from God and then disobey him once we get the answer. So I just stepped out on faith, and I didn't do it because I knew about stepping out on faith or something like that. I just knew that I wanted to be happy, and in order to be happy, I had to love myself first, and this was the beginning of loving myself first and trusting God. But anytime you do something for the Lord, you're always going to have to make sacrifices, and this was a major sacrifice that I had to make. My wedding was paid for in full. And this is not to brag or anything, but my wedding was at the Botanical Gardens in City Park. So the food, everything was paid for in full. My dress, my bridesmaids' dresses, and I had to make a major sacrifice. And I did. I canceled my wedding. I didn't tell nobody what I was going to do. I didn't share it with nobody. And most of the time, when God tells you to do something or tells you to go forward with something, he wants that thing to stay between you and God. Because once you start to speak that thing into the atmosphere, or you start to invite other people in on what God has called you to do and what he has spoke alone to you to do, you're going to get their opinions. And then sometimes it will be opinions from the enemy. Sometimes it will be man-made opinions. And you have to step out on faith and do that thing that God has called you to do. And you guys, it wasn't easy. Anything we sacrifice for God is going to be big. Like in the Word of God, it teaches you about making sacrifices. It say, don't sacrifice a lamb when you know the lamb is sick. Like, don't sacrifice something sick to me, something that's really not worth it. So sometimes, and most of the times, when God calls you to make a sacrifice, it's going to be a major sacrifice. You guys, sometimes it's also very important to know when to speak and to know when not to speak. Sometimes there's a time, God said there's a time to talk and there's a time to be quiet. So, and also remember, in the book of Esther was a Jew the whole time, and the king didn't know that. But when they came to crucify the people and to kill him, Esther knew. That's when she had to speak up and say who she was. But her uncle had taught her to be quiet. There was times in the Bible with Joseph with his brothers, and even all the things that Joseph went through in life. Joseph never spoke about what he went through in life. It's different from when you're using it as a testimony, or it's different when you're using it to play victim. Sometimes God don't want us to speak of what we're going through because we're going through things for a reason. We're going through things to help other people. We're going through things to see his glory. So sometimes we will suffer persecution. We will suffer trials and tribulations, but it's not for us to play victim of the blame game, but it's for God's glory to shine through it. So I canceled the wedding, and after I made that sacrifice and canceled the wedding, I got a whole lot of backlash. But that comes with it as well. I'm not going to too much get into that, because the moral of the story is trust in God and have faith. I began on a journey. I still was living in sin because I was still living shacked up. I was still into fornication at the time because I did not leave my fiance at the time. We stayed in the relationship a year longer after I canceled the wedding. And the longer I stayed in that relationship, the more and more pain it caused because I still wasn't living in the will of God. But I began to change. I began to seek the Lord more. I began to sacrifice more and more things. And the first thing I did, I started studying the Word of God. And in studying the Word of God, I did not understand what I was reading. So the first book God gave me was the book of Proverbs. And I didn't understand that version that I was reading in the beginning. I was reading the King James Version. So I changed my translation to the NLT version. And that's like more relatable. It talks like I'm talking to you right now. So as the Lord began to teach me in the book of Proverbs teaches you about your character. It teaches you how to live an everyday life. It teaches you what to do. It teaches you what not to do. It teaches you how your everyday actions you can bring curses upon your own life, and it teaches you about if you obey God, how you can bring blessings upon your life. So the first thing God taught me in reading the book of Proverbs, God taught me about myself, and I was living extremely ungodly.